Hello, hello, my Simply Felicity audience. I know you must have been shocked when you saw I was going live. It has actually been weeks. I hope not months. I don't think months, but it's definitely been weeks since I've been live. And I have missed you all. I've missed this format. And I was so excited when I was given a guest that I could put on Simply Felicity. As most of you guys know, I am running for office here in Illinois in the 49th district, and it's very exciting, very time consuming and awesome, but also a lot of the awesome people that I'm meeting that I would like to interview are political. So that's what's going on over at Black Conservative Female. Sometimes I am doing multiple broadcasts a week to fit in all the guests. But it's so awesome today to be back home at Simply Felicity podcast and to introduce you all to someone that I'm just now meeting. But Janice Pons, my co-host on Black Conservative Female, went to a podcasters forum, and she met some amazing people, and we got some great interviews out of it. And you're going to meet one of those people today. We're going to learn some interesting things about what God has really put in this earth as a gift to us, as a gift to our health. And a representative of that today is he goes by Greg the Hydrogen Man. And I welcome him to Simply Felicity. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's really nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you. Where are you hailing from, Greg?
Where am I hailing?
Sorry, where are you
Oh,
from?
oh, for a second I thought you said where are you inhaling from? And I was like, well, I do inhale hydrogen. That's usually from my nose. But hailing, I'm from the United States. I'm on the West Coast right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very good, very good. Well, I am so interested to hear about this product. My association with it, like all I know about is alkaline water, and I went to a presentation where they talked about like how you want water that's like properly pH balance and everything like that. And so that was like the only thing I have known about like pure type of water or anything. And I know you said that you all have a water product with the hydrogen as well. So I'm just curious as to what this is, what are the benefits and everything. Lay it on us, Greg. What do we have here today?
Well, the first thing I would probably say is just to clarify, this is not about alkaline water, because I'm really, really all about the latest data, the science of really understanding, quote unquote, water technology. The problem is that unfortunately there is a lot of misinformation on this particular subject, and that's because just the majority of people don't know. And in Japan, they're leading the forefront on the technology. And ultimately, we're talking about hydrogen, and we're talking about specifically molecular hydrogen and all the things that have been uncovered about it, about the way that it's affecting your health in a just extremely crazy way. And it's very legitimate. When I say it's very legitimate, I mean there's tons of scientific studies. It's already been approved by the medical establishment in Japan, even though I would say just about every single doctor in America doesn't really know about it, and the little that they do know is usually wrong. There's a lot of bad information, just like you were mentioning the alkaline water. Because what you really, really want, at least for water, just on water side, is clean water. You just want it to be clean. You don't want any chemicals in it. You don't want any pharmaceuticals in it. You don't want chlorine in it. There's a lot of things that you just don't want in your water, and that's just water. We're talking about something that, again, hydrogen. You can dissolve hydrogen into water. You can inhale pure hydrogen gas also. And the amount of studies on this is just remarkable. I mean, just to give people a few examples, I've seen people with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, arthritis, glaucoma. I mean, those are just a few. And I've seen people completely get off medications. So they don't actually need medication. And that's so important because the majority of pharmaceuticals, as you're probably well aware, they're genotoxic or they have a lot of nasty side effects. And in my opinion, this is really going to revolutionize the world of medicine. I think it's going to help people a great deal whether it's for, and I always like to let people know, I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not making any medical claims. But if people want to read the science, there is a website they can go to. They can go to holyhydrogen.com. Tons of scientific studies there that people can take a look at. And there is so much data about how it works, what it is, and then of course the other aspect, how do you use it, how do you make it? And hydrogen, as you said, it really is probably the most natural substance in all of creation.
Wow. And I just want to capture the website again. It's holyhydrogen.
.com.
Okay, holyhydrogen.com, just so I can kind of get that going for people. I just really appreciate you being here. I love knowing the latest, of what's going on. We have just been sold a bill of goods, particularly over the last 2 years, in a more sort of like fast track way. But certainly for years, there have been, many, many lies. But this whole concept of science recently has just been bastardized and really used to hurt people under the guise of science. But we know that science is actually something that's built on hypotheses, questioning, and one study is supposed to strengthen another, and it's supposed to be like this progressive thing, but it doesn't get away from the basic knowledge that we already knew. And one of the things I like about what you're saying is I think all science proves the glory of God. All science reveals how much God already put in the earth, what is needed to take care of us. So it makes total sense to me that what we're looking to get is clean water, or the purest of the hydrogen, because it's however God originally put it there is what's going to give us the most benefit. God didn't give us all of these pills and various things. And even though I know some people think that, well, God gave doctors the knowledge to invent those things, well, you know what, there are other forces that give knowledge too. And so if we look at the fact of how much those things are hurting people, I'm not sure God gave that knowledge, right? So that's why I think God is giving other people his knowledge that's not trying to hurt people. And I'm so excited about this coming out. So please continue on how people, what were some of the benefits to you? How did you find out about it? What's your story?
One thing that I was going to touch on that you mentioned about, you were talking about the science and how a lot of science has been manipulated. And I definitely noticed that. And in fact, when I was first reading the research and the data on hydrogen, I actually thought it was a hoax. And I thought it was a hoax because the data was too amazing. It was too good to be true. It was like, wait a second, this seems a little suspicious to me. And that is affecting the hydrogen market. A lot of people try to promote things and they use the science of hydrogen, say, oh, look, this science is great. And then they have some, I hate to say that, but like garbage product, that they're pawning off, where they use chemicals like lye to make hydrogen, or they have hydrogen pills, which they don't even sell in Japan because they're bad for you. Things of this nature. And what I started to learn when it came to the actual scientific studies is to go and research who did the study and who was funding it. Because that's when you begin, that's where it was really
follow the money.
It's true. And, in Japan, though, things are a little different. It's really interesting. Even the government there was actually trying to bash hydrogen and saying, oh, it's no good. They were almost trying to shy people away from it. They didn't want them to know about it. But the scientists who had seen the benefit invested so much time, so much money. I mean, a lot of these guys were doing this on their own dime, and they did it because they believed in it so much, and they saw that the results were real. And they had so much, this is why there's so many studies, and there was overwhelming amount of evidence that the Japanese version of their FDA literally had no choice but to approve it. So it's literally approved for medical use. Oh yeah, it's used in 20 major hospitals in Japan, countless medical centers, medical clinics, doctors, they use hydrogen a great deal. They're doing even new research in some of these medical clinics and medical centers for dementia, Alzheimer's. But the things that it does, the reason that it's so remarkable, it's shown to be effective for about, I believe, 170 or so diseases at this point, which is a lot.
Wow.
And I myself, you were asking, I had a lot of different medical issues myself. This is how I discovered this. But I even had a heart condition, and I was supposed to get open heart surgery, and I was really scared of that. And because, they're going to cut you up, they're going to break your rib
Right.
cage. It's just scary. And when I used hydrogen, I didn't expect it to fix my heart condition. I never expected that in a million years. I was doing it for other reasons, and it completely made my condition go away. The cardiologist was shocked, never needed heart surgery. Somebody else had a very similar condition that I had for their heart. They used my protocol. So I developed the protocol, and I found the best equipment, because this is crucial for hydrogen working properly and to be safe. The safety part is just a huge component. And the person who had the same heart condition or similar one, their condition also went away. And it is approved for heart attacks in Japan. So it's amazing for the heart. And that's just one of like almost countless things that hydrogen can do. It's so amazing. Functioning as an
Really
anti-inflammatory.
cool. It's
Oh, go ahead.
it's so cool that they were able to get, beyond this money trap, because we
Yes.
know, like in America, that's the reason why they won't allow something to go forward. It won't make them any money, right? And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I just think it's so smart and basically loving of Japan. Even like you said, yeah, the studies were overwhelming, but at the end of the day, they had to decide they cared about their people enough. You know what I mean? To go
Absolutely.
ahead and hey, listen, it's not, even though their things might not make as much money as the pharmaceuticals, but the
Yeah.
Japanese got in on it in such a way that, yeah, they are making money on it because they're using it in their hospitals and making it a part of the protocols. You know what I mean? Like, you can make money, with people staying alive than trying to make so much
Yeah.
money off of killing them. So
I
it's
mean,
like, there's a way to work it out.
absolutely. And I mean, you don't make as much money as, just like you're
Cool.
saying. I mean, if they develop a pill that you constantly have to take forever, well, that's going to be money forever.
Just that
You know,
forever isn't that long because you are killing that person slowly. You know what I mean?
yes.
More than
Oh,
more than
absolutely.
they would have been if you hadn't done that. So I don't know. I just think ultimately, whatever the devil does doesn't work as well as how God would have it to do. Like, you could
You,
find other ways.
you're touching on something very interesting that I usually, I tend to stick to a lot of the science, but some of the science does collaborate with some very interesting, almost mysticism or even about God.
Mhm.
I found Bible verses that actually appear to be talking about hydrogen, but nobody ever noticed. I'm probably the only person on
Whoa!
the planet who found them. Oh yeah,
I
and
want to
it's
hear it. Well, do you have them off the top of your head, or can you find them?
yeah. I was actually going to look for them while we were chatting, but I do know one. So I have to explain the background in order to understand the verse, or I can
Okay.
just tell you the verse and
No,
see if
no,
you'd
no.
understand. What do
Background.
you prefer?
Background.
Background? Okay. So basically, I'm always studying all things hydrogen. I'm so fascinated by it at this point. And one of the things that was discovered in Japan was when you fully saturate hydrogen in water, hydrogen does something very peculiar. And nobody cares because it doesn't necessarily, it just because it doesn't matter really, but hydrogen will have an affinity towards the surface of the water. And it will literally like hover and like dance upon the surface of the water. Now, when scientists observed that, they thought, okay, well, that's not important because they're seeing hydrogen basically have an amazing impact on so many medical issues. They're like, why do we care if it hovers upon the surface of the water? Well, I don't, and I don't know if you're aware that hydrogen is literally the life molecule. When I say the life molecule, it is literally the source of all life. If
Wow.
you were to take hydrogen out of a plant or out of a human, it will just
Mm,
drop dead. You can't live without hydrogen.
wow.
It's almost like water or air, but it's even more crucial than that. In fact, if you were to take like hydrogen water and use it on plants, it gives more life to the plants.
Wow.
There's a scriptural verse, as you probably well know, that says life is in the blood.
Yes.
And this is very clear because if you cut the blood supply off to your hand's going to just die, right?
Yep.
And hydrogen is already being used in Japan. It's already approved for strokes. So, like, let's say somebody has a stroke and they're not getting proper blood supply to the brain. And what they do is they'll put the person immediately on inhaling hydrogen gas, and hydrogen will go literally to the brain and go to that area and keep it alive without any blood. And by the way, what's in the blood that really brings the life? It's actually the hydrogen. There's
The
hydrogen flowing through our blood. All right. And so it's so remarkable. And so, as far as the Bible verse is concerned, I'll just quote it. It's in Genesis, and it says, "And God's spirit was upon the surface of the waters."
Yeah.
Now,
I
most
thought
people
that
would have,
when you talked about
did
the,
you?
yeah, went to the surface of the water.
And so most people would have read that verse and they probably had no idea what that means. But if you think about it, and God's spirit, isn't his spirit the spirit of life? I mean, it brings all life. And even the light of our world, the sun, is entirely made almost of entirely hydrogen, right? And it's crucial. And then, of course, water is primarily made of hydrogen also. But his spirit hovered upon the surface of the water. Well, we know from a lot of the science that a long time ago, there used to be a lot of hydrogen on planet Earth. And my guess is that there was so much that the water was fully saturated and it was literally hovering upon the surface of the water. And this is when,
Huh.
quote unquote, life really started to, begin here on planet Earth. And that's just
Yeah.
one of many verses. I mean, I actually found some other ones too. And it's
You
so
know,
remarkable.
that
Mhm.
verse also makes me think that, if God's spirit was there and the hydrogen is right up there, right? There's this
Mhm.
connectivity, um, because of the life in the blood, and that God gave us life, breathed the breath of life in us. So it just seems like there's this intermingling because,
Well, you just brought
so,
up another one, actually, the whole breath of life part.
oh,
Because
yeah,
remember, so it says that God took basically clay, I mean, it was water and
yeah,
dirt, and
yeah,
then he blew life. Well, here's the interesting thing about breath that now we know due to research is that when you're exhaling, not inhaling, because when we inhale, we bring in oxygen, for example,
okay.
but when you exhale, you're actually exhaling hydrogen. That's how they measure it. So he
Wow.
blew life, he blew it out of him into the human
I
who are
love
that
that.
life.
So,
So,
my one of the missions I think God has given me as a minister, I was ordained in 2020.
oh, wow.
God really convicted me about the things going on in the church. The church is closing. Here you have Jesus who laid hands on lepers, and these guys are wearing gloves and masks. Like, he was showing me we've kind of gotten real far from what I was asking. So, anyway, one of the things that I've really felt convicted to talk to people about was, uh, thinking in their mind about God within. So
Mm-hmm.
important because, we've had this long period of time of really thinking about God on the outside, God in heaven, reaching out to God, reaching up to God, and things like that. But it's out of balance now. And so people aren't really thinking about their connectivity. And then it's a form of godliness denying the power of it. And so the power of God is really where we connect with God for our own lives. And so this like really gets me buzzing because you know what I mean, that just thinking of him hovering over the water and the hydrogen being at the surface and it's in us, like
Yeah, it
these are
is.
the thoughts I really want to encourage people with instead of like just thinking about how different they are from God. It's just so easy to feel condemned and, guilt and all these things instead of thinking about your partnership with God and how we're made in his image. So this is very exciting. And then this type of information and knowledge that you're bringing also reminds us that God wants us healthy, that he has a great plan for us. Uh, each of us are here that we can solve some of the problems and the deficiencies that are in the earth. Those answers are within us. So we need to be fully activated. We need to be healthy. We need to be teeming with life, like overflowing. And
Yeah.
so, please respond to that. But also, I want to say a couple times where people can connect with you to be able to, see how they could get this in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, if people, first thing I'll say is if people want to learn more about hydrogen, because it's difficult to explain everything in literally just an hour or 30 minutes. And I've been doing it for years, and I have a YouTube channel, and it's called Uprising 144K, and I give a lot of information there about
Mm,
hydrogen, and I do it completely for free. People don't have to pay for memberships, nothing. I give away all my secrets that I've uncovered about hydrogen and how to apply it for your health because I too was sick. That was actually how I discovered hydrogen. I was really, really ill. The medical establishment really had no answers for me, and I really had to find an answer for myself. And I really, it's kind of funny. I really did end up uncovering a lot more than I ever thought I would. not just about hydrogen, but in health in general.
Right.
And
It was
actually,
a rabbit hole, right?
you're talking about God, and it's funny because I couldn't walk, and I was on a
Wow.
couch, and I was in a lot of pain. And I actually remember making a prayer. That was actually, I remember I was so desperate, and I prayed and I said, look, if you can just lead me down the path to show me what can help me. I only assumed that it would be able to help others if I could find that answer. And then I found a bunch of stuff, and I was surprised how good my techniques work that I had discovered, even to the point where I started having doctors contacting me for help with their medical issues that they couldn't figure out, or for
Mm,
patients or loved ones, family members, and even scientists. I have there have been scientific studies done on my theories, and they were proven to be true. So a lot of my
wow.
theories, it's almost like I actually feel like I kind of received them. Typically, I go to sleep and
Yeah.
I get these like
Yeah.
premonitions almost, and
Did
then
it,
I start
did
having
I
these.
get the YouTube channel right?
Uprising 144K. Yes, that's correct.
144K. Hold on.
Oh,
Let me
yep.
change it. Yep.
And
Okay.
that's a biblical number. The 12 tribes of 12,000.
Oh, 144K.
Yeah,
Got
that's
it.
the reason. That's the reason that I chose it. And what hydrogen does as far as protecting your body, protecting your cells. When I first read the scientific data, the first thing I thought was, this looks like a guardian angel, because
Mm,
if you were to see the way it protects your body, you almost can't believe it. And there's a video. My videos are numbered. I have video number 8. And what it shows that you can do, for example, with chemotherapy, we know how destructive it can be for our cells, like 90% cellular damage. It can be really bad.
yep.
And on video number 8, it's actually footage of a lab in Japan, and they show cells being bombarded with chemotherapy without hydrogen, and then cells bombarded with chemotherapy that have hydrogen. And the difference is night and day. You can see it for yourself, but the protective aspect of hydrogen, it's so protective. And these days, there's so many chemicals. There's pharmaceutical drugs. There's stuff in our water. There's stuff in our air. There's stuff in our food. We need all the protection we can get, because
Amen.
these things are really hurting the human body. And when you get sick, and I know from experience, it's extremely sad, because you don't feel like you can live your life when you can't walk, or when you're in constant pain. It's really hard to be happy. And the Bible teaches, there's one of the most important teachings. It was actually a teaching from Jesus himself. They were asking him, like, what's the most important teaching, of all your teachings or in scripture? And ironically, he didn't say something like, well, to give 10% to the church, or ironically, he actually didn't even say that you even need to believe in him. He said, love one another as I
So
have
good.
loved you. And that is, to me, the core, the
Wow.
source of, I don't want to just narrow it down to one religion. Humanity in general, we just need to love one another more. I think God would be much happier with that, no matter what religion we are.
Yeah.
I think he would
Yeah.
just like us to care about one another and be
Yep.
kind to each other. And it's hard to do that when you're in pain, when you're unhappy. Because when people are in pain and unhappy, they tend to take it out on others. Bullies. I mean, a lot of times bullies, right? They're just not happy, or they're in pain
Yeah.
somehow. Or if you're in physical pain, people always taking out their pain on others, which is extremely sad. But for me, it was just so debilitating in the pain, and it was so hard for me to be happy. And I think that having really good health, it keeps you sharper. I actually believe that it keeps you more connected. I feel much more connected now, like,
Absolutely.
to my creator, because the temple, I mean, this is the temple of God, right? The
Right.
body is the temple of God. And I almost believe that sometimes the evil one is actually, I don't know if you remember that scriptural verse that says that the earth will become a toxic wasteland. You remember that verse?
Oh my gosh, I do. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not talked about very much, but yeah, I do.
And I think that the evil one, what he's tried to do is, if you toxify planet Earth, meaning the water, the air, the food, that's going to get to the human body.
Absolutely.
I mean, we breathe this air, we drink this water, and I do recommend, if you want the cleanest water, there's actually a website called mypurewater.com.
Hmm.
And carbon distillers, I have all the charts on all the different filtration methods. I know them all. I know the carbon filters, nano carbon filters. I know gravity
Wow.
filters, reverse osmosis. I'm a water expert, if you really want to call it that, and a hydrogen expert, if you want to call it that too. But they will make the cleanest water you can possibly make. They're extremely high quality. Those machines last virtually forever. And if people want discounts, I mean, I do have a code if they want it. It's Uprising 144K, just like the channel, but it gives you a
Okay,
discount.
great.
And you can make your own water, and you can make the cleanest water. That's what I actually use specifically in my hydrogen generator. And
Say
it's
it
all
again, mypurewater.com.
yep. And that way people don't have to do all the homework. I've been doing all the homework for years, and I just share the information with people. And what I share is exactly what I use myself, because everything that I'm preaching, I do it myself. You know, I'm not a person who preaches it and then doesn't do it. I definitely
Right.
follow, what I do. And it's changed my life, and I've seen it change other people's lives. That's why I'm so adamant about sharing it. This is my way of loving my neighbor, sharing the
Mm,
knowledge that I believe was bestowed upon me, and obviously my hard work too, to find all this information and share it with people, hoping that it will enrich their lives, keep them healthy, or help them be more healthy, so that that way they can be happier and share that love, share that happiness with others. It's so important, in my opinion, and I do believe that humans are being taken advantage of in a major way. Obviously, the medical establishment's part of that. There's so many. I mean, there's corruption everywhere. That's what I've also seen. But
definitely. Yeah.
but on the
Beautiful. Go ahead.
it's terrible. But I was going to say, on the spiritual side of things, I do think that these things were not an accident as far as polluting the earth, the
No,
chemical companies producing all these things. And it actually disconnects you, in my opinion, from God. And I know that sounds weird, but I actually,
not to me.
it doesn't sound weird to you. Well, see, I'm glad that you understand, because to be honest, I didn't understand. And when I was trying to heal my body, I was actually trying to purify it. I was like, I really believed in God's creation. I believed that this body, the temple of God, if you could just make it run the way that it was supposed to, the way that He intended it, it's already perfect. It must be perfect. You know,
Right. He didn't
that
make
was my
any
logic.
junk, and he made it to be able to survive here in
Absolutely.
particular. So that
Absolutely.
is the best theory. So if you go from that pure model, I think that's why you've been able to attain all this wisdom. You have to get, and this is, so I'm a life coach. I'm often like helping people shift their paradigms. Like if we look at the same information, but our paradigm is wrong, then we'll
Mhm.
make the wrong decision. And so you've
Sure.
got other scientists, all
Mhm.
this training, maybe you don't even have a doctorate in it, but their paradigm is wrong. If you start with that God made everything perfect, that He made our bodies to be able to live and survive here, then what you're going to do is go back to purity, and then you're going to get the pure essence of what's needed. Not like, how can I get the most out of this, how can I make the most money of this? Like you were at death's door. Do you even know what was wrong with you, or you just had to heal it,
No.
not really ever figuring it out?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of issues.
Okay.
I mean, I was having a lot of inflammation. I had so much pain. Not only could I not walk, but my hands and my wrists, I couldn't even function. I couldn't play
Oh
video
my
games. I
God.
couldn't change a channel on a television with a remote control. It was
Wow.
very painful. And I
Wow.
was extremely depressed, because I'm like, this can't be my life. It
Right.
can't end like this, and some people thought that I was actually close to death, because my body was just shutting down in a major way. I'd get sick so easily. I'd pick up the flu like 3 times a year, maybe more. You know, my immune system was absolute garbage. It was terrible. And to really have gone the path of transforming this and everything that I've learned, I would have never thought that I would have been like a health guru. I would have never thought that. And now I have literally doctors and scientists asking for my input, because they've seen the results. I've literally worked with their patients, and they see the results, and they want to know how they figured out how to do this. And then that leads back to me typically. And so it's been such a crazy journey. I would have never expected my life to go in this direction. Never in a million years. And and noticing the spiritual aspect, like I said, I actually had a multiple, but I had one specific, just kind of almost grandiose spiritual experience when I was actually purifying my body, when I was like doing fasting, when I was trying to change the way I ate, cleaning the water, doing all these things. And I ended up having such a crazy spiritual experience that's when I realized it is so important that the body be clean. I cannot emphasize that enough. This is a
Mm-hmm.
temple. This is His body. He lives
Mm-hmm.
inside of it. Do you really want to treat it like a garbage machine? Do you want to be putting
Mm-hmm.
soda pop and Twinkies and fast food? I mean, is
Mm-hmm.
that what you want to put into? I mean, this is the way that you show Him, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. How do you show God that you love Him? Because we say it all the time. Oh, I love God. Okay, great. How do you show? And I think
Right.
that you show Him by loving one another, right? Respecting others, but also yourself. loving yourself and respecting yourself, you know. And so that's just my opinion. That's how I've been, living now, and it's really been quite dramatic. I'm surprised myself.
Well, if we thought about our bodies really as a temple, those of us, I'm a church girl. I actually have a house church now, so it's funny. So I don't actually go to anywhere for church. Like I'll go to conferences and things like that, but I've had some of the most wonderful experiences in church and great connectivity with God and stuff. But think about that being your body.
Yeah.
Think about the place where you have that connectivity inside of you, right? And so, the churches that I've been to that I've had some of the best experiences. Listen, I've had great experiences in storefronts as well as great experiences in, pretty expensive churches, but each one, they treated it well. They cared about it. Now I've gone to beautiful churches that were very clean, that it was dead. I mean, to me, I couldn't feel God anywhere except in me. But I'm just talking about both the places so it's not just taking care of yourself, right? You've got a desire to have God's connection there. But what I'm saying is every temple or church where I've had an experience with God, the members of that church cared about the building, took care of it, even if it was in a dumpy area, but they took care of that space, and you could just feel the presence of God because they loved God there. It's not about how expensive or whatever. And so that, you're just helping me to connect those things even more, that if we treated our bodies in that way, right? It would be the potential of having those same experiences, because we're showing like, wow, you gave this to me and I want to take care of it. And that's how those church members felt in those churches I go to. Like, you gave us this building, we don't care if it's a little hole in the wall. We're going to take care of our little place, and that's how we want to feel about these bodies that God gave us. So I love that you're giving us a way to do that. And 3 different resources, guys. So we've got holyhydrogen.com, where you could do research on the hydrogen. We've got YouTube videos on the Uprising 144K YouTube channel. And we've got mypurewater.com, and even a discount code where you can go ahead and be able to make your own the cleanest, purest water that you can have. So this has been quite a packed 34 minutes. What would you like to end us off with, Greg?
Well, I mean, if people do want a discount too on the Holy Hydrogen website, there is a code. It's all in capital letters, and it's the same Uprising 144K. That's just if people, to me, it doesn't bother me if people don't use the code. It just helps people get discounts. Mm-hmm. So that's, I'm sure everybody would like a discount. But yeah, I mean, again, for me, I just think that purity is very important. I think everybody wants that. Everybody wants clean water, clean food, and ultimately good health and a lot of life and vibrancy in the body. And I think people should definitely, if you're suffering from something, or if you want to prevent, hopefully, because sometimes certain things run in your family and you're like, hey, I know that my grandmother or grandfather had dementia. I know that eventually I'll go that direction. So you can do certain things as preventative care. They're actually doing research on dementia and Alzheimer's in a medical clinic in Japan. I've seen some of the research and it looks pretty promising, and that's just, again, one of many examples. There's just so many, it's unbelievable. I've seen people's eyesight get so good they don't even need glasses anymore.
Wow.
It's just countless. For oral health, there's studies on what it does for the gums and just the mouth in general, blood flow, just constantly. It's unbelievable. It's almost too much to share. But
well, you know what I tell you, for those that were raised or picked up somewhere the phrase "too good to be true," let me challenge you on something. Ever since 2020, haven't you experienced certain things in this world that have almost been too bad to be true, and yet they are true?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Listen, God has an answer. Satan responds to God. God's not playing defense here. He created all this. All right. And so The devil responds to the perfection that God already created. God has an answer for all of this stuff. So don't think it's strange that you are running across this information today, because some of you have been crying out and saying, oh my gosh, I took the shot, or, I took that and a booster and blah. And now they're being blatant and coming out and saying, well, yeah, it causes, virus induced AIDS, or, myocarditis, in kids. And and they're just blatant. They don't mind. Some of us, like, we had to go to alternative sources to find this stuff out. Now it's just on, regular news. And, people are like, I'm all boosted and blah, blah, blah. And what are you telling me? Well, you know what? If you actually cried out to God instead of went into cognitive dissonance and went, no, 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 no. You know what I'm saying? If you're like here in reality and not being in denial, then you ran across this information because God heard your cry. And he already had an answer before the problem even came. And so he has a response to everything going on. Forget the too good to be true. God is responding to the fact that many people, without knowing, shorten their lifespan. But we've also been doing it with the foods that we eat and the stuff that they've injected into the foods over the years, more and more and more, to get us calcified and pineal gland and all kinds of great stuff. So there's an answer for it. It is not too late. If you've come across this information, know that God heard your prayer. And Greg, you're an answer to prayer. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for this. Beautiful.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure. And if you ever want to do it again, there's plenty to share on hydrogen.
Yes, as I do my research, I'm sure I'll have more questions, and I will probably take you up on that, sir. Thank you again. Have a great
You're very
evening.
welcome. Thanks for having me on. You too.